Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Popular Side Podcast, the official Workington Reds podcast. Today I'm joined by Mr. Workington himself, Steve Durham. Hello, Steve.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming on today.
Pleasure.
Well, it's very nice to have you on. Very well known in the Workington AFC kind of family and board. Done a lot of stuff in your years, and excited to pick your brains today in this episode. So I'm gonna just try and start off nice and easy, try and ease you into the questions a little bit. So kind of what's your hobbies outside of football?
Football?
Mm-hmm.
No, obviously football first and foremost, but enjoy most sports. So away from football, probably cricket, rugby league. I would say they're the two sports I follow after football, but take an interest in most sports. And other than that, I mean, I should have put these first, but family, obviously, and, living in Cumbria, beautiful part of the world to live.
Indeed,
It's always difficult to get to where you want to be from Cumbria, but a nice place to live, and, just Cumbrian born and bred and lived here all my life, and probably will continue to do so.
Is there any? So you mentioned rugby league there. Is there any specific team you'd follow?
Yeah, very much. Rugby league's my switch off. I go there and watch the game and go home and forget about it. And if you support Whitehaven, you have to forget about it at times because struggling a little bit. But I watch Whitehaven and Workington Town. Town, obviously, when Whitehaven aren't playing, but and then throw a few Super League games in now and then. Just like rugby league. So, and that's my switch off. It's it doesn't matter if they win or lose. I know it does, but not so much to me as it does if Reds lose.
Yeah, aye. So, say you're on a night out. Are you often a man for a night out, or not your forte?
No, too old now. Been known to have a night out in my day, but a night out now would be 3 points and just go home and fall asleep in the chair before match of the day.
That does sound like a good way to spend your night. But say back in your youth, kind of if you were on a night out, do you have a go-to karaoke song?
Definitely not.
Not.
I'll let you into a secret. I was the only guy in my year not in the school choir. So karaoke, I'm afraid, is not my scene. That would be one embarrassment.
So I've been obviously talking around to a lot of people, and the question that came up was kind of what's the team you support and why do you support that team?
Workington always come first. Whatever, but quite passionate about West Ham. Followed West Ham probably nearly as long as Reds, I would have thought, and that goes back to the early 60s when West Ham were a team, not so much like they are now, but I followed them, and I've seen them probably in about 60 or 70 different grounds up and down the country, mainly in the north, but that's just another switch off like the rugby league, really. It's I'm passionate about it, but it comes very much second best to Reds.
Yeah, of course. So taking
away, mind you, I would say I've seen West Ham and Reds play on the same day.
Right.
Back in the 80s, I think Reds were playing a Sunday morning game down country, and West Ham were playing in the afternoon. So I've seen them both on the same day, which is quite unique, I suppose.
Do you remember who they were against at the time?
Well, Reds were at Burton Albion, and West Ham were at Old Trafford in the afternoon. So it was a quick dash between, but I think one was 11 o'clock kick-off, and just got to the other one just in time. So
right,
there you go.
Yeah. Very, I have to respect the commitment for that, especially getting to two games.
Madness, I would say. No, not commitment.
So, taking away from the football and kind of maybe this what you've already touched on, kind of what do you do on like non-match day weekends?
On a non-match day?
On non-match day.
Just Well, during the summer, if you're talking about summer,
Yeah.
just follow the local cricket. Be it Cockermouth, Workington, or Keswick, or Whitehaven. Just do the local cricket circuit, and maybe a day at a test match. So that would be during the summer. On a match day, if we didn't have a game during the season, I'd obviously go to another game somewhere. So I'd do a bit of ground hopping as well. So wherever there's a game, I'll go.
Very fair enough. I can't say myself I've been to a lot of the Cumbrian games, just mainly due to timing. But did you go to the Cumbrian derby recently between Carlisle City and Penrith? Or?
Yeah, well, whoever's available on a Tuesday night, if we don't have a game, go and watch Carlisle City, go and watch Penrith, Kendal, Gretna. Anybody that's local. The problem is they often all play on the same night, which even Carlisle United and Barrow, they play Tuesday night. So sometimes there won't be a game, and others there'll be maybe 5 or 6 games you could have gone to. So I'll find a game somewhere. Yeah.
So let's go right back to the start. So your first kind of time seeing Reds. So what kind of piqued your interest in Reds? Like what was the first instance?
Well, I got invited to go with a school friend. I think his dad was chauffeur, so I got a lift through. I live in Whitehaven, so I'd never been to Workington. My first match was 63-64 season, and we won. We played Torquay United and managed a 2-1 win. And I must admit, I was hooked from there on, and I've been coming ever since. I never went to uni, so I've never missed a season. So this will probably be my 63rd season,
right,
uninterrupted. Obviously, I've missed a few games in that time,
yeah,
but
of course,
I don't like to miss games, be it first team or reserves or youth team. If they're at home, I'd like to see them.
Yeah, you just vary all the Reds games. Just love Reds.
Yeah, that's the passion, and I think from day one, I thought I like this, and couldn't wait for the next game. And first season, obviously a bit sporadic with getting through. Then we came on the bus, and sometimes we came on the train. There was quite a few from Whitehaven came in those days, and just grew and grew, and got more into it. And from there on, it's just been everything really.
Yeah,
a big part of my life.
So obviously you have a very big passion for Reds. Even got the nickname of Mr. Workington.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one. There's plenty of people who do a lot for this club, and you only have to look around. You see the volunteers at work. It's so that title I'm not. That doesn't sit comfortably. No.
Well, I'll back away from that one then. But obviously, been watching Reds since the 60s, as you mentioned, you did play for them once or twice, was it? Kind of off the bench.
Yeah, that was not so much through my ability. It was more a case of desperate times. We were struggling late 80s and 90s. I think I was named on the bench 8 times, and it was more or less just to make numbers up. And I got on the pitch on one occasion. I played for 40 minutes, second half, at Harrogate Town. Graham Caton, who was a promising young player at the time, he and I were subs. And he went on in the 40th minute and got crocked immediately. Half-time came, and he started the second half, and then he hobbled off, and I took his place. So that was my claim to fame. I played at Harrogate for the last 40 minutes, and we won 2-0, so...
Even better.
Yeah, 100% record.
A very big one-up. So I was obviously talking to a lot of people, trying to get some tales, trying to come into this with some bit more knowledge. And someone said to us, he used to be the bus driver. Is there any truth to this?
Well, there is truth in it. It wasn't exactly a 53-seater coach. Back in the day when funds were hard to come by, we used to travel away in 2 minibuses. and I drove one, and our physio, Reg Cartner, he often drove the other. So you probably have 7 or 8 players in each minibus with all the kit and travelling to here, there and everywhere, just doing it on the cheap. So that was the story behind the bus driver bit. But then in later life, I did the same for the reserves, and we drove the minibus up and down the north of England for 5 years. So I wasn't driving a luxury coach; it was a battered old minibus.
So kind of on that volunteering, what kind of within like match day things, was there any other volunteering work you took part in?
I think probably, when we first started, it was just sort of maintenance. We used to come down to the ground and do the chores, the litter picking and the painting the dressing rooms, and that was really just Reds were still professional then, so players were in every day, so that was just an excuse really to meet up with the players and get their autographs and things like that. But it developed over the years, and I think probably my first job was programme editor, which I volunteered to do in 1973. So been involved in the programme for the last 52 years, I suppose, and I suppose that's what I'm best known for. And from that, I sort of started doing work with doing copy for the website. But other jobs, the strip you mentioned, laundry, and I've done that for a few years. I've just picked up a few jobs that I wasn't an expert in, and just tried to help out the club wherever I could. So you don't really volunteer, you sort of, I don't know,
fall into it.
You fall into it accidentally, and it sticks. So if you do a reasonable job, you get stuck with it. If you make a hash of it, well, you might escape. So,
kind of talking about your volunteering roles, you've kind of got the title of the club historian. How did you kind of fall into that?
I'm certainly interested in that side of it, and all the stats and facts and figures. Nobody else at the club, seems to bother about that, and I think it's an important, part of players' careers, and that you have some idea how many games they've played. So I was always kept a record, and I was indebted to a Reds fan who I used to visit at High Harrington, Stan Jackson, sadly no longer with us, but his records were unbelievable, and when he passed away, he left me 5 or 6 annuals there were of Reds record from the 20s right through to now. So I've just picked up on the basis of what he did, do it slightly different to how he did it, but the bottom line is that we keep a record of all Workington games, all the teams, all the scorers, bookings and sendings off, all the boring stuff that nobody seems interested in. But I think it's important that somebody does it, and quite enjoy that side of it. So got my records, there's cupboards full of books with facts and figures in, and that's the basis of me programme notes, I suppose.
Well, it's very interesting that you have that kind of side of thing. I certainly like knowing about the stats, like our top scorers for seasons and everything. So it's very grateful for your work that you do. Going on to some other work you've done, you've had, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 spells as a director of the club or on the board.
Yeah, 2 spells. First one in the 80s, it was really tough. Done 6 years then, and it was tough. Crowds were often below 100, and it's difficult to imagine 94 people coming through the terraces when today there could be another 700 on. I mean, the last few years has been unbelievable for support, but 80s and 90s it was really tough, and I feel proud that we kept the club going at a really tough period, and I think a lot of people are benefiting now from. There really were bad years. We just couldn't compete. We were bottom of the league nearly every season. getting hammered every week. It was no fun, but we just, the handful of people that were involved, they just felt they had to keep this club going. It was worth fighting for, and well, the last 20 years has been marvellous, really, in comparison to the 80s and 90s. The 2000s, it's been wonderful.
What would you say was the biggest struggle during that first spell, kind of as they've been named, the dark days?
Just a general lack of interest, the apathy around the place. Stadium was in a bad state of repair. In fact, at one point we had to leave here and go back across to Lonsdale Park for a period. Floodlights, they had to be, partially demolished. And it was all as a result of the Bradford City fire. The stand didn't meet the safety criteria at the time because it was a wooden structure. So the stand was condemned, and it didn't look like a football ground, and very few people were interested. Even the media at that time, they hardly wanted to know. And then sort of early 90s, we sort of started a bit of a revival, and gradually, it became more the club that started supporting in the Football League days.
So then we go on to your second spell. How long was that exactly?
It was another 6-year spell, and that was far better. In the 2000s, and although I've enjoyed both, I think it was a bit more enjoyable second time round than it was the first, because there was a lot more people involved, a lot more volunteers coming forward. Crowds were on the up. Team was in far better shape. And as I say, I think throughout the 2000s, if you supported Reds last 20 years, it's been a good period to be involved. People will say, well, look at us now, we're bottom of the league, but bottom of the league with a healthy club is not as bad as bottom of the league in 87, 88 when we conceded 100 and odd goals and lost 33 games. I can assure people it was a lot tougher then.
Yeah, aye. So when, unfortunately, was it like resignation for the second spell? Was it kind of...
there was, I think some of the present board, they were showing an interest to join the board, and I think the old board felt it was probably right for us all to stand down on block. Didn't quite work that way. It was a bit different how it happened, but the new board have come in, and in fairness to Phil and Richard and Simon and several others, they've turned it round, kept it going, and they've worked miracles in the last 4 or 5 seasons while they've been at the helm. So every admiration for them, and every admiration for anybody who's ever taken it on, because it's a thankless task.
So during kind of your tenure on the board, just with a bit of both, someone asked me to ask you kind of who, I don't know how much the board kind of has impact on player signings, but was there any names that came to you that we just missed out on, any like big names you could think of?
We always, in our regime, it was always left to the manager. So we didn't have any involvement in signing players. All we had to do was make the budget available to stretch if he wanted an extra player or two. But worked with several managers, and just left it to them. And any issue, we were always trying, fund an issue if it was extra budget or whatever. But we had no say in who comes or who goes. That was purely down to the
manager.
To the manager.
So we've kind of touched on the 2010, but now we'll go to the year 2020, unfortunately, one of the many COVID years when we were kicking on. But in the year 2020, you got an accolade. Was it accolade or an award from the FA? Kind of, what was that for exactly?
The FA have this recognition for people who've been involved in football for 50 years, and completely out of the blue, I was told that there was going to be a presentation. I think it was we were playing Trafford at home. It was a midweek match, and everybody seemed to know about it except myself. But the upshot was that I was being presented with the FA's 50 years service award, and I think I'd been recommended by Alec Graham had suggested to the county FA that I was a possible contender, and I was chuffed to bits when that happened, and for it to be presented at a home game, it was a bit embarrassing, but when I think about it, I was very proud afterwards that the players lined up and formed a guard of honour, and I took to the pitch with the late Fred Conway, who was chairman of the Cumberland FA. He made the presentation. Fred was a Reds man too, so there was two of us there walking down this guard of honour, and he presented me with this medal, which I was very proud to be awarded.
So it's great to hear you got that long service award, and especially getting the guard of honour. Probably felt really good.
Yeah, it was very special. It's not unique. I mean, there's a lot of people in under the Cumberland FA have got them. A good friend of mine, Jeff Tuttle at Windscale, he got one. I think Ron Caffrey, who's a Reds fan, he got one for his refereeing duties. Walter Brogdon at Penrith, I think he was another recipient. So there's, there are people out there that have done it with other clubs as well.
So unfortunately, kind of this is the end of my questions just for yourself, and we're going to kind of go on to the more general ones that I've asked many guests beforehand. So in your many, many years of supporting Reds, being part of Reds, who's the best player you've seen put on a red shirt?
Oh my goodness!
You can name eras. It's all
Well, you've got to say Luke Hunter, haven't you? After last week's heroics.
Indeed.
I look at it a bit differently. I look at every working Reds player as the brother I never had.
Right.
So they've all been heroes. So I go through the 60s where Jimmy Moran and Kit Napier and Mike Rogan and John Ogilvie and Bobby Brown were heroes, and then right through to the 2000s where you've got Sam Smiths, Connor Tinian, Scott Allison, and all these guys, Tony Hopper. There's dozens that I would class as heroes, and to say the best one to ever pull on a red shirt, I would have to really think about that one. There've been so many that have done 300-400 games. Kyle May done 500 games. Connor Tinian, Anthony Wright, Johnny Wright, Gareth Arnis, and there are so many. I think over the last 10 years, I think I'll go for Connor Tinian.
You're going to go Tinian. That's a very fair assumption. I only saw the Lyle bits he played, unfortunately, because of just my age. But is there any reason particularly why Connor Tinian?
I think like a lot of players that came here, it probably wasn't their career path of choice.
Yeah.
And he's one of many who have had an outstanding career here, having been through the Carlisle system or whatever. But probably didn't set the world alight when they first came, but stuck to it, and my goodness, what a servant.
Yeah.
And I just think, longevity and match day ability, the behaviour, an ambassador for the club. If they tick all them boxes, they're a hero for me, and a great lad as well. And I think I look at it like that. If they're a good ambassador for Workington Football Club, they'll do for me.
I do love that answer. That's a brilliant answer to that. But now we're going to go the opposite way. Who's the best player you've seen against Reds? Yet again, you can do eras if you want, or if you have one that sticks in the mind.
Gosh, that's a bit of a curveball. There again, it would, I would have to go through different eras, and who's always been a thorn in our side? That's probably. No, I would have to think about that one. Can't give you an answer on that one, I'm afraid. Too many.
Is there any you could maybe just name a couple?
Well, what about Cowps at Barra? Colin Cowperthwaite, he always used to score against us. Another good lad, and somebody I would put in the same esteem as Colin, as Connor for Workington. He was for Barra. He was Mr. Barrow, I suppose.
Yeah.
People like that, you think, well, I wish he'd been a Workington player or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think people like that, Colin Cowperthwaite, they always seem to, do well against us.
So we'll go from players, now we'll go over to managers. Who's the best Reds manager you've seen in your lifetime? Yet again, same again. If you have eras, if you have a couple of names, just...
Yeah, well, I think I've seen off, if that's the right expression,
Seen
about
off,
50
yeah.
managers while supporting Reds, and I've worked with about 20 of those. But I think initially when I first started, Ken Furphy was manager, and far wiser people than me say he was the best manager Workington ever had. So he'll definitely be one. Peter Hampton, he was with us when we won our first title in '99. Got on well with Peter. Tommy Cassidy used to love the stories he used to tell, and he done a great stint with us. More recent times, Danny Granger, he was great to work with. And that young, fresh approach, it was good. But I think there's been so many. Even people, going back in the 80s when we struggled, Wayne Harrison was an excellent coach. Martin Harris probably got the job at the worst possible time, and his time didn't do him justice. He was very clever football-wise. Joe Wojciechowicz, another. There's been so many, but and Billy, even down to Billy now. It's it's just they all go about it in a different way. The aim is the same, to win matches. But I think how you treat people and your staff, I think that comes over to supporters better than somebody who rants and raves and is criticising them, behind the back. I think if he's honest up front, I think that's ingredients for a good manager.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with that. We'll then move over to another part. Obviously, you could say many years Sporting Reds being part of Reds. What's kind of to get another hard one to pinpoint, but what's the greatest achievement you've kind of seen in Reds history?
Well, I think I've seen 4 promotions and probably 6 relegations. Yeah. So it's certainly been up and down. But I think when we dropped into the Northwest Counties League, and that was the lowest level we'd played at for many years, and then to win the last 14 games, to win the title on the last day against our nearest rivals. For those people that had gone through the 80s and 90s, that was, I think that was a watershed moment, because, we were on our way back, or, we thought we were on our way back. So that would definitely be one. And I think Danny's promotion, 3 years ago, where we'd gone down to step 4, and then, I think the interruption through COVID, that knocked us back a bit. And I thought, because of circumstances beyond everybody's control, I thought there was 4 or 5 genuine players were going to miss out on a promotion. So when Danny's squad got promoted, for the likes of Connor and Scotty and Sam and Dav, for them to go up, I think that was fully justified, and they deserved it.
Especially, and then also as well to the promotion under Danny, kind of the playoff heartbreak under Wilcox before, and just the Marine game where they came back kind of hurt, and then it was nice to finally get over the line in the end.
Well, I think we lost that playoff match at 5:00 on the Saturday when we drew it at Market Drayton.
Yeah.
I thought there's no way we're mentally sound for this playoff game now, and I didn't fancy our chances whatsoever, and so to, as you say, to bounce back like we did, 12 months later or whatever, that was so good for so many people.
Yeah. Well, we're going to, I think, the kind of the biggest topics around the club at the moment. Obviously, the new stadium. You know, there isn't a date for us moving over to Derwent Park at the moment. Kind of, what's your thoughts about going over there just for that little while? Is there any excitement about it, or just kind of just get it over and done with?
No, I'm. You know, we've got to make the move. It's it's a necessity. We've got to modernise this place. You know, I've probably spent more time here than anybody over the last 40 years. You know, dark, lonely nights, washing strips or whatever.
Yeah.
I love the place to bits, but it's well past its sell-by date. We need a new facility for the next generation, your generation, and generations to come. We've had our time. Let's get a new facility here for Workington AFC, Workington Rugby League, and for the community. It deserves it. This ground is, some wonderful history, but it's time to move on. And I'm for one. I'm looking forward to going across there for a short period. It'll be a season at least. We have to do it, and then hopefully still around when we get back to the new build and start a new era for both clubs.
So definitely a lot of excitement about the new ground, new facilities, everything.
Oh, I'm all in favour. It's got to be done, and let's get it done. And we go over there. We share with town. It's a good facility. And then that's temporary, and we both know we're coming back to a new build for the next 40, 50, 60 years.
Well, that's unfortunately all my questions now. Thank you for joining me. At the time of recording, we do have a match on later on today, so hopefully we get the 3 points today. Thank you for joining me, Steve.
Pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.